This is an NBC News special report. Atlantis, the final flight. Here's Brian Williams.
We are coming on the air from New York, and as you'll see in a moment, Florida. It is time to see what is, in effect, the end of the U.S. manned space program as we've come to know it, with NASA firing rockets off into space with individuals on board. Hundreds of individuals have made this trip now, going back to 1961. We have had 135 shuttle missions, hard to believe, and 30 other missions prior to this. There are 4 astronauts on board. Captain is known to his colleagues as Fergie, Chris Ferguson, 49. Doug Hurley is the pilot. He's 44, Marine Corps Colonel. Mission Specialist Sandra Magnus is 46, and Rex Walheim is a retired Air Force Colonel. Looking well as they came out into the vehicle to go out to the pad this morning. Just 4 of them, because there's no shuttle rescue mission. Should something happen to go get them, they would have to come back on a Russian craft from the International Space Station. Our launch is coming up in 2.5 minutes. You see the top of the apparatus come off the solid rocket booster. There have been some question for days now about the dicey weather conditions in South Florida today. We have a special event here, and that is our own space veteran, Jay Barbee, 53 years covering all of manned space flight for this country. This will be his 166th mission. And Jay, take us down to 30 seconds, especially for what this day means to you.
It's a training exercise.
Well, Brian, it means the end of an era, as you said, but again, it's about the same as always. It's always the same excitement. You got souls on board. You want to make sure they get into orbit safely. And the launch team here has been performing as it's always performed. However, there are 6,700 people on this launch team, and after this mission, there'll be 1,000 left. So it's getting down hairy here, a job situation, but they're flying like always, and we're getting real close here as George Diller is in launch control. He's a veteran, and he will be taking us down to liftoff, Brian.
It is important to remember, Jay, as you point out, that for a lot of the veterans, this is it. They walk away from the control panel as commercial space flight takes over.
That's true. It'll probably be at least 4 years before we see astronauts leave this sand spit again. As you said, there have been 165 flights from Cape Canaveral. This will be 166. And we're getting real close here with 40 seconds to go to launch. And I want to tell you this, Brian. We're going to be climbing up toward your place where you are. This will be going up the eastern seaboard. From here to Asbury Park, New Jersey, is where this will burn out in about 8.5 minutes. Now let's let George Diller take us through the rest of the countdown.
Recap switches. NTDSC. Go ahead. Yes, sir, we need guys to go do the...
Just went into a hole here at T-minus 31. In a hole here at T-minus 31. We're not going anywhere. Let's see what's going on.
Verify using a camera, and we're positioning camera 62 right now. Okay, let us know as soon as 62 is swung over, and you can verify LCC for GVA retract, please.
We should be hearing from George Diller in a moment, any moment, that will tell us what happened here. They're holding at T-minus 31 seconds.
The GVA has fully retracted per our pre-plan.
They were having trouble getting something retracted from the space shuttle itself.
Okay, and you can verify that it is fully retracted per the instructions that we've been that we developed, correct? That's correct. All right, and SPE? And SPE concurs. They satisfy the requirements of GSE 13 pre-plan contingency. I'm go. Okay, I copy. And launch director. Yes, sir. I heard all that and concur. Press on. All right, very good. NTDST. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir, I need concurrence to GLS and mass to clear the hold, please. Very good. And GLS, you have concurrence? Go.
We still got about 4 minutes to go
that's complete.
In this window.
You're right, Jay. This was about checking. This was about checking to see whether the arm had retracted all the way. They were trying to swing cameras around to be sure, and we'll get our call here.
Okay, waiting here, trying to get the beanie cap all the way back. Got the cameras watching.
3 minutes and 16 seconds.
2 minutes and 16 seconds left before we have to launch.
NTD, CTLS.
They're holding at T-minus 31 seconds.
All right, very good.
They say they're ready to go.
With that cleanup, we're going to go ahead and proceed. Yes, sir, please do. All right, and all personnel, we are going to pick up the clock here momentarily. And GLS, you can resume the clock on your mark. Copy that. Countdown clock will resume on my
Mike
mark.
Leinbach is the launch director.
2, 1.
Here we go. We're counting. Counting again.
Okay, so auto sequence start.
Handoff to Atlantis' computers has occurred.
Here's George
Rocket
Dillon.
booster nozzle steering check and work.
20.
Firing chain is armed.
15.
Go for main engine start. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. All three engines up and burning. 2, 1, 0, and liftoff. The final liftoff of Atlantis on the shoulders of the space shuttle. America will continue the dream.
Program, Houston.
Roger, roll, Atlantis. Houston now controlling.
She's climbing beautifully here. Everything is on course. She's climbing beautifully. Here is Rob Navius in mission control.
24 seconds into the flight. Roll program complete. Atlantis now heads down, wings level on the proper alignment for its 8.5-minute ride to orbit. 4.5 million pounds of hardware and humans taking aim on the International Space Station. 40 seconds into
This
the flight.
onboard camera.
3 liquid fuel main engines throttling back to 72% of rated performance in the bucket, reducing stress on the shuttle as it goes transonic for the final time.
Everything
Engines
running
now revving up,
perfectly.
standing by for the throttle up call.
She's programmed over everything. She's headed up the eastern seaboard. Stand by, Daytona Beach. Here comes the farewell flight of Atlantis.
Atlantis, go at throttle up, no action, DPDT.
Go with throttle up, no action on DPDT.
That call from Capcom Barry Wilmore.
Our colleague Jim Oberg.
Instrumentation only, no action required.
Jim Oberg in Mission Control reporting she's now 46 miles off Daytona, 17 miles high.
16 miles downrange from the Kennedy Space Center, 1 minute 40 seconds into the flight. Atlantis flexing its muscles one final time. Atlantis traveling almost 2,600 miles an hour, 21 miles in altitude, 24 miles downrange, standing by for solid rocket booster separation.
This picture is from a camera on board the external fuel tank. There goes the solids. They are now separating. There they are, following
Booster
away.
officer confirms
You
staging
can see
a
them.
good solid rocket booster separation. Guidance now converging. The main engine steering the shuttle on a pinpoint path to its preliminary orbit. 2 minutes, 20 seconds into the flight. Atlantis already traveling 3,200 miles an hour, 35 miles in altitude, 50 miles downrange. The propulsion
past
officer
Daytona
reports the
Beach.
orbital maneuvering system engines have ignited. Atlantis kicking on its afterburners for 1 minute, 23 seconds for the final phase of powered flight.
Atlantis,
Perfect.
2-engine towel.
That means they could get across the Atlantic with 2 engines instead of the 3 they have on board. Everything perfect now as Atlantis climbs into orbit for the final mission of the space shuttle. Everything right on target. You are looking at a picture of Atlantis from a camera underneath the belly of the spacecraft attached to the external fuel tank. It will take 8 minutes and 24 seconds for it to get into space. It's riding now. Everything is going perfectly. We seem to have lost the transmission from Mission Control by Rob Navius. Don't know what's happened here, but we will stay with it, keep you going up. And here we are here. If we pick up, here we go. Here we pick up Rob Navius again. All right, everybody, everything is on schedule right here. It should be coming up here shortly to what they call negative return. What that means is that they cannot return here to the Space Center. They would have to fly across the Atlantic Ocean to a landing site in Spain if they had an emergency. Okay, they are now off the coast of Savannah already. They're 172 miles off the coast of Savannah. They're 60 miles high. Everything is going perfectly. I don't know why we've lost communications here with
However,
Mission
Atlantis'
Control.
3 engines performing perfectly.
And Jay Barbary.
All right, we have Rob Navius back.
4 minutes, 20 seconds into the flight.
Thank you for your call. What a moment to witness at what great speed, and now well on its way into Earth orbit.
Miles an hour,
this is for everyone, of course, who piloted the X-1, the X-15, guys with names like Crossfield and Yeager, and of course Shepard and Glenn and Grissom and White and Chaffee and Armstrong, Aldrin and Collins. The entire manned space program. From here on in, at least for a little while, the Russians will be our ride into space. Hard for a lot of veterans to believe, and the era of commercial space flight will now begin. But for now, this is 166 missions. Again, hundreds of Americans have hurtled into space. The last of the shuttle missions. This particular shuttle will be on display at the Kennedy Space Center, and tourists for years to come will look at this spacecraft that has flown so many miles in Earth orbit. So, successfully on their way, the last of the space flight missions, the last of the shuttle missions. There have been 135 of them heretofore. We'll have complete coverage tonight on NBC Nightly News, and again, a special tip of the hat to Jay Barbary of our staff, 53 years covering America's manned spaceflight. I'm Brian Williams, NBC News, New York.
Shoulders of the space shuttle, America will continue the dream.
Program, Houston.
Roger, roll, Atlantis.
Houston now controlling the flight of Atlantis. The space shuttle spreads its wings one final time for the start of a sentimental journey into history.